Hey, what's up? Lightbolt Joe here. Today we are going to discuss the brand new 2022 film. Is it a Netflix original? I don't know if it's a Netflix original. I believe so. Mr. Harrigan's Phone. So this stars Jaden Martell, who we all know and love. He's been acting since he was a kid. First thing I ever saw him in was St. Vincent. I don't know if that was his first acting gig, but he's done a slew of things ever since. He was just in Netflix's Metal Lords. We all know love him as Bill in It. And then It Chapter 2, 2017 and 2019's It, and It Chapter 2. So those are Stephen King films, right? Based off of a book by Stephen King. Mr. Harrigan's Phone is a short story by Stephen King. So to have Jaden Martell play a character again, run through a small town in Maine again, and run up to a quarry, in regards to won't he jump into the water in Maine, based off a Stephen King book again, very entertaining. So, this was very well done. Creepy. Not in there was no blood. There was no, jump scares. It was just, what's going on kind of anxiety thriller thing. So, Jade Martell plays the character of Craig. He is hired by this billionaire to Mr. Harrigan to read to him because his eyes are going bad. And so he starts to read to him different books in his library, in his mansion. From what? A lot of time takes place during this film. I think he starts at the age of 10 in 2003, yes. And then we flash forward to him being a freshman in high school in 2008. So 5 years later, because the iPhone was like a big thing. That's where this phone comes through. And so his dad gets him a phone for Christmas. And then Mr. Harrigan, every Christmas, gives him a bonus, quote unquote, of a lottery scratch off. And the year that Jaden got the phone, Jaden's character Craig got the phone from his dad for Christmas, and his mom had passed away. He had won $3,000 on one of the scratch offs from Mr. Harrigan. So he buys Mr. Harrigan a phone. And then he teaches him everything about the World Wide Web, everything about texting, everything about the stock market live versus the Wall Street Journal the day before. And then Mr. Harrigan is learning and realizing that he shouldn't have been so close-minded about it, but he's worried about the dangers, about false information being, pushed down people's throats, and how is it verified, and all these things that we're actually dealing with problems now. So it's very interesting watching this as a conversation piece taking place in a 2008 time period. And again, it's so weird saying that because I was in high school, and I was a senior in high school in 2008. And I remember when people just got the iPhone, and everybody else, we all had flip phones and Razors and, Motorola's and Blackberries, whatever. And then the iPhone came out, and then that was the new point. And then everything after that was the next batch of stuff. So it was very interesting. But then, Mr. Harrigan dies, and then Jaden puts his cell phone in his pocket before his casket is lowered. But, he's getting texts of, code from Mr. Harrigan's phone, even though it's buried 6 feet underground. So, what's happening? So then he gets a new phone, and then that stops. But, every time he calls Mr. Harrigan's number and, leaves a voicemail of, oh, this kid's bullying me, and then he's eventually in college, and one of his teachers passes away, and, oh, this guy got off, and he shouldn't have, and things. Those people wind up dead. And it's very interesting of how do they wind up dead after Craig makes the phone calls, and is Mr. Harrigan's ghost actually doing the killing, or is what's going on? And it's not answered. And it's one of those things where it's it doesn't have to be answered, because Craig makes a answer of, maybe you were just warning me by sending the C's and the S's, telling me to Craig, stop, that it's dangerous and we shouldn't be doing this and it's not good for my health. And it's all maybes. It's not definites. And then it's just he throws the phone in the quarry after he visits Mr. Harrigan's grave, and he visits his mom's grave. And it's just, that's it. But it's so well done that it doesn't need a definitive answer at the end. We don't need to know, is Mr. Harrigan's ghost actually doing this stuff? We don't need to know that. It's very interesting, because most of the time you need a definitive answer. Obviously, most stories leave on cliffhangers, and it drives you nuts. But sometimes you get nice wrap-ups. Other times you don't need a wrap-up, and it works. And this is a prime example of something that does not need a wrap-up, and it works. I thought this was very well done. It's a little long, but I was never bored. It had some cool death scenes, as in you don't actually see the people die, you just see the aftermath of it. And again, I thought that was neat. it's not a horror, as in there's no blood, there's no murder, there's no, you know, villain kind of a thing. It's just it's a psychological thing, and it's just a matter of what happens next, and it keeps you on edge because it's spooky, and it's cool, and I really loved it. Excellent film. On to the next review. With mahalo.